everybody. Welcome back to the Bible Difficulties and Answers podcast. I'm your host, Lance Smith, and let me just say it's great to be with you today. We're diving into a question that's been puzzling scholars, historians, and Bible readers for centuries. Who was the Pharaoh of the Exodus? Was it the larger-than-life Ramesses II, the guy Hollywood loves to cast as the villain? Or could it be the lesser-known but maybe more fitting Amenhotep II? And why, oh, why doesn't the Bible just give us a name? It's like God's playing a cosmic game of hide-and-seek with history. Today, we're unpacking this mystery with a mix of biblical clues, Egyptian records, and a dash of archaeological intrigue. We'll wrestle with whether the Exodus happened around 1446 BC, as the Bible suggests, and what that means for our Pharaoh lineup. Plus, there's a curious silence in the biblical story, a gap that might hint at some Israelites getting into trouble. Stick with me, because this is going to be a wild ride through ancient history, with a few laughs and some head-scratching moments along the way. Let's set the stage. Picture Egypt at its peak, pyramids gleaming, chariots rolling, and a pharaoh who thinks he's untouchable. Then along comes Moses, staff in hand, delivering a message straight from God. Let my people go. And Pharaoh, he's not impressed. In Exodus 5 verse 2 from the New Living Translation, we hear his smug reply. Who is the Lord that I should obey him and let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. Ouch. That's the kind of defiance that makes you wonder if Pharaoh's about to get a divine reality check. But here's the kicker. The Bible never names this guy, not once. It's like the ultimate snub. Here's this powerful ruler, central to one of the greatest stories in history, and he's left anonymous. Is that intentional, a divine snub, or just Egyptian pride, where defeats like the plagues or losing an entire slave workforce didn't make the royal press releases? The truth is, we're dealing with a puzzle where some pieces are crystal clear and others are buried under centuries of sand. Before we start naming names, let's be real. This podcast isn't long enough to unpack every theory out there. We'd need a whole season for that, and I'd probably lose my voice. So I'm leaning on a few key sources today. Check the show notes for details. And I'll give you a quick rundown of the big contenders and who I think fits best. That's Amenhotep II. Spoiler alert, there's some compelling evidence, but it's not a slam dunk. History's messy like that, kind of like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing and the other half chewed up by your dog. Here's a key clue. 1 Kings 6:1 says Solomon's temple began 480 years after the Exodus, around 966 BC, landing us at roughly 1446 BC, as the Big Book of Bible Difficulties notes. Other verses, like Judges 11:26 and Acts 13:19-20, back this early date, setting the stage for Amenhotep II. Scholars like John Bimson and David Livingston argue archaeology supports this if you adjust the Bronze Age dates a bit. But some folks prefer a later date, around 1270 to 1260 BC, tied to Ramesses II. Why? Exodus 1:11 mentions the Israelites building Pithom and Ramses, and Ramses screams Ramesses II, who built a city by that name. The thing is, that could be a later scribal update, like calling Constantinople Istanbul today. Plus, the Merneptah stele from 1208 BC mentions Israel already in Canaan, making a late Exodus a tight squeeze. It's like trying to fit a king-size mattress into a compact car. Possible, but you're going to have to bend something. For me, the early date makes more sense. So let's zoom in on who was ruling Egypt around 1446 BC. Enter Amenhotep II, Pharaoh from roughly 1455 to 1418 BC. Why is he our prime suspect? Let's break it down detective style. First, the timeline fits like a glove. Amenhotep II was on the throne in 1446 BC, fresh off his father Tutmosis III's long 54-year reign. Remember Moses? He fled Egypt after killing an Egyptian, spent 40 years in Midian, then came back. Tutmosis III's marathon rule gives plenty of time for that drama to unfold before Amenhotep II takes over. Second, the 10th plague. Exodus 12:29 says the firstborn of Pharaoh died. Amenhotep II's eldest son, possibly named Tutmosis, shows up in a wall painting, but then, poof, vanishes from history. No throne for him. Instead, a younger son, Tutmosis IV, takes over. There's a curious Egyptian monument, the Dream Stele, where Tutmosis IV suggests he wasn't meant to be king. Maybe because his older brother died. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's a juicy clue. Third, Pharaoh's survival. A lot of us picture Pharaoh drowning in the Red Sea, thanks to epic movie scenes with chariots sinking like stones. But the Bible doesn't actually say Pharaoh died. Exodus 14 talks about the army getting wiped out. And Psalm 136:15 says God shook off Pharaoh and his forces, which could mean he got humiliated, not drowned. Amenhotep II ruled for at least 26 more years, and his mummy's chilling in a museum today. So he survived something. Here's where it gets juicy. Douglas Petrovich, in his 2006 article, Amenhotep II and the Historicity of the Exodus Pharaoh, the link's in the show notes, says Amenhotep II launched a campaign in November 1446 BC. Strange, since Egyptians preferred spring for better weather and supplies. Why the hurry? He captured over 101,000 slaves, including 3,600 Apiru. The name might mean Hebrews, suggesting Egypt needed new workers faster than a pyramid crew on deadline. This ties to a quiet spot in the Bible between Exodus and Numbers. Petrovich wonders if some Israelites wandered off, the Apiru, impatient with Moses and were captured, though the Bible's silent on it. It's a theory that sparks curiosity. Let's zoom out. Amenhotep II's looking strong. His reign lines up with 1446 BC. His firstborn didn't survive, and that odd campaign hints at Egypt's scrambling post-Exodus. But there's another angle that's just too good to skip. Rewind to Moses' childhood. Exodus 2, 5 through 10, tells us a Pharaoh's daughter found baby Moses in the Nile and raised him as her own. Some scholars, like Petrovich, point to Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's rare female pharaohs, who ruled around 1479 to 1458 BC, right when Moses would have been a young prince. She was no ordinary royal. Hatshepsut wore the pharaoh's beard, built epic monuments, and ran Egypt like a boss. If she raised Moses, it puts him in the heart of the royal court, learning the ropes before his fugitive days. Now fast forward to Amenhotep II, her stepson or grandnephew, depending on the family tree. Petrovich thinks Amenhotep II, reeling from the Exodus, his son's death, his army's loss, Egypt's humiliation, lashed out at Hatshepsut's legacy. Picture this. carvings across Egypt with Hatshepsut's image chiseled out, her statue smashed. Talk about a family feud. If she raised Moses, the guy who triggered Egypt's downfall, Amenhotep II might have blamed her, erasing her from history to bury the shame. That's not just vandalism, it's personal. Guess you don't mess with a pharaoh's pride or his stepmom's legacy. But not everyone's convinced Amenhotep II's our guy. So let's check the other side. Scholars like Kenneth Kitchen argue for Ramesses II and a later exodus around 1260 BC, citing that Ramses name in Exodus 1:11. The Big Book of Bible Difficulties notes his stable reign and surviving firstborn don't fit the plague-ravaged chaos we'd expect. Others question if the Exodus happened at all, but I'm not sold on that. The Bible's track record and archaeology's surprises, they keep me digging. Why does Amenhotep II feel like a strong fit? His early military campaigns were smaller than his dad's, like he was recovering from a gut punch. Egyptian records from his time even mention distrust of magicians and foreigners. Sound like a Pharaoh who got schooled by Moses and Aaron's staff-turning snake trick. I'm just saying. So where do we land? Amenhotep II's the strongest contender for me, with the biblical chronology, the firstborn's death, and that Epirus campaign clicking into place. But I'll be honest, there's no smoking gun, no Egyptian tablet saying, yep, lost my slaves to 10 plagues. Egypt didn't advertise its flops, and the Ramses reference is a head-scratcher, unless it's a later edit. What fascinates me most isn't just the who, it's the why. Why does the Bible leave Pharaoh nameless? I think it's deliberate, a divine mic drop. This guy says, "Who is the Lord that I should obey him?" And God ensures history forgets him. While Moses, a fugitive, a shepherd, a guy who possibly stuttered, shines forever. And that silent gap in the story, that possible splinter group, it's a reminder that even in God's plan, people can wander off. Maybe some got tired of waiting for Moses at Sinai. Maybe they thought they could shortcut to the promised land. But God's story kept moving, with or without them. It's a humbling thought. Stay the course, trust the plan, even when the path feels long. In the end, the Pharaoh's name, Amenhotep II or not, fades next to the real story. God breaking chains, keeping promises, and proving no one outranks him. The plagues, the Red Sea, the wilderness, it's a story of faith, freedom, and a God who doesn't mess around. Does knowing Pharaoh's identity change that? Maybe not. But it sure makes us think. Even the mightiest rulers fade if they stand against God's purpose. And those who follow him, like Moses, they're part of the story that's still unfolding. That's all for today, friends. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of the Bible's great mysteries. Check out the show notes for links to our sources, especially Douglas Petrovich's paper. It's a gem. Got thoughts? Hop over to our Facebook page or shoot me an email at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers@gmail.com. I read every one. If you're loving this, like, subscribe, drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, wherever you listen. It really helps spread the word. All episodes are at BibleDifficultiesAndAnswers.podbean.com. It's perfect for a binge if you're new. Teaser for next time, Friday, we're tackling Exodus 6:3. Was God known by his name Lord, Jehovah or Yahweh, before Moses' time? It's going to be a good one, so don't miss it. Until then, keep seeking truth, stay grounded in the Word, and let's keep wrestling with these questions together. I'm Lance Smith. Good luck, good health, and God bless. So long, everybody.